be honest. The modern world is incredibly comfortable, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like everything is designed to keep us cushioned, distracted, away from anything remotely difficult.
Yeah, instant gratification is kind of the default setting now.
It is. And that ease, well, it's seductive.
Right, it is, but it also creates this subtle dependency, almost like a resistance to the things that, actually make us stronger.
Exactly. And that's why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking at some really potent source material that challenges this whole tendency.
Ryan Holiday's book, Discipline is Destiny, The Power of Self-Control.
That's the one. You've shared these sources with us, and our goal here is really to be your guides through them.
Yeah, we want to unpack the key insights from the book, help you shortcut your way to understanding what discipline really means, especially through that Stoic lens.
Right, and how it ties into self-mastery, and maybe most importantly, how we can actually bring it into daily life.
So you're well informed without having to read every single page yourself.
Okay, let's dive in then. The source kicks things off by defining self-discipline, and it does that mainly through the Stoic virtue of temperance.
Right, temperance. Think of it like this, maybe. If courage is about putting your ass on the line, temperance is about keeping your ass in line.
Ah, okay, that's a sharp way to put it.
It's not just about external danger, it's the internal battle, managing your own impulses.
I like that framing from the book. It shifts discipline away from just like grim deprivation into something more active, like self-command. So what does that command actually entail, according to the source?
Well, it's pretty comprehensive. It's things like the capacity for hard work, definitely, the strength to say no, practicing good habits, setting boundaries, which is huge, training yourself, ignoring temptations or provocations.
So emotional control, too.
Absolutely. Keeping emotions in check, enduring difficulties, knowing when to go all out, but also knowing what to hold back. It's about moving intentionally, reasonably, not just getting swept away.
So it's command of the whole physical, mental, spiritual, demanding your best, even when, you could get away with less or when no one's looking.
Exactly. And a really interesting point the author makes is that discipline isn't just helpful for success. It's framed as almost deterministic.
Deterministic? How so?
Well, it makes achieving your goals much more likely, obviously. But even if things outside your control mess up the outcome you wanted, discipline ensures that you, yourself, are great, regardless of that outcome.
Ah, I see. So it defines your character, not just your results.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the flip side, a lack of it leaves you vulnerable. It really shapes who you are, potentially in dangerous ways.
The book mentions that ancient Greek word for this struggle, doesn't it? Akrasia.
Yeah, akrasia. That moment where you know the right thing to do, but you just do something else instead. That internal split.
We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely. And the book uses some powerful examples. People like Marcus Aurelius, Queen Elizabeth II. Their greatness was built on restraint, on dedication. Whereas the downfall of others, maybe Napoleon or Alexander the Great, often stemmed from an internal lack of discipline. Hubris, intemperance, losing focus, not just external enemies.
So discipline isn't just, a performance booster. It's the bedrock of character. And the source suggests the starting point for mastering this is the physical.
Our bodies, yeah.
Yeah.
The book quotes someone calling it our glory, our hazard, and our care.
Oh.
And that idea from St. Paul, keep under the body and bring it into subjection. Why start there? I think the idea is if you can command your physical self, it proves you can command things.
Right.
It builds that basic muscle of saying no to impulse.
It makes me think of those Stoic and Roman traditions. Deliberate endurance, simple food, modest living.
Right.
It wasn't self-punishment, was it? It was more like training.
Yeah.
Wrestling with desires to get stronger for whatever life throws at you.
Exactly. Because if we don't actively dominate ourselves physically, then other forces, laziness, hardship, just entropy, they will dominate us. The body just naturally slides towards decay if you let it.
The Lou Gehrig example in the book really hits home. He wasn't just physically gifted. He cultivated that mental strength, that habit of ignoring the voice telling him to quit.
Yeah, that relentless consistency.
He seemed to understand that always taking the easy route means you never really see what you're capable of. Discipline isn't a prison. It unlocks potential.
And it's also about breaking free from dependencies. The source talks about tanha, that Buddhist idea of thirst or craving, the root of suffering, some say.
So it's not necessarily about never having a drink, for instance, but quitting the need for it.
Exactly. Quitting the dependency. Eisenhower quitting smoking cold turkey at 58. Feynman giving up alcohol instantly when he realized its effect. They quit the need.
The book has that great question to ask yourself. If this thing was invented today, knowing what you know now, would you start it?
Oh, yeah.
Would you pick up that first cigarette? Start endlessly scrolling. Have that second drink every night. It forces you to really look at what serves you versus what just controls you.
And then there's the discipline of avoiding the superfluous. Cato the Elder's simple living is a great example. The less you want, the less you need, the richer you are, in a way. Freer. More powerful because you're not tied down by desires.
Right. And that connects to voluntary discomfort, too.
Yeah.
Seneca, sleeping on a hard floor, eating basic food.
Again, not self-flagellation. It's practice. Toughening up.
So if you lose your comforts, you're not terrified because you know you can handle it.
Yeah. Success can make you soft, afraid of losing what you have. This builds resilience against that fear.
So building that inner steel through the physical. But like you said, the battle isn't just physical. The book moves inward next, right?
Yeah.
To temperament and mind.
Which is often the harder part, let's be honest. Mastering the inner domain.
This is where discipline shows up in how you handle thoughts, emotions, situations. Queen Elizabeth II is used as a prime example of quiet brilliance.
Her self-discipline wasn't just her schedule, it was her restraint. Not jumping in with opinions on everything, especially things she couldn't control. Managing decades of change described as an expanding discipline.
And enduring criticism as just part of the job. Even calling one year her annus horribilis.
It really shows that greatness isn't only what you do, but also what you consciously don't do. Staying within your role, sticking to principles.
George Washington, he wasn't naturally stoic, apparently.
No, the book makes that clear. He worked at it. Cultivated self-command every day, using that mantra in the calm light of mild philosophy when his temper flared. It was an active practice.
Managing reactions, not necessarily squashing the emotion itself.
Exactly. And in today's world, which seems built for distraction, focus is presented as a kind of superpower.
Makes sense.
The book lays out this inescapable logic. Saying yes to one thing automatically means saying no to tons of other things. So the power of saying no is really about saying a clear yes to what actually matters to you.
Like Goethe and Beethoven, who were apparently expert at ignoring things, so they could just commit fully to their work. They disciplined their attention.
And patience. That's framed as a key part of genius. Think of Edison testing thousands of lamp filaments. That wasn't just stubbornness. It was disciplined, patient persistence.
Okay, but what about the downside? The book talks about perfectionism as a trap, right?
Oh, yeah. Martha Graham, the dancer, apparently felt trapped by needing her work to be absolutely perfect.
So what's the Stoic take on that?
It's basically, don't give up just because you can't make it perfect. Not trying is the real failure, the cowardice. Just finishing something, getting it done, that itself is a huge act of discipline. Perfect, as the author says, is the enemy of everything that could come next.
Perfect is the enemy of done. I like that.
It really is. And prioritization often comes down to something simple. Just doing things now. Doing the important things first. Like Toni Morrison getting up before dawn to write.
Getting it done before the day grabs hold of you.
Yeah. Getting it over with isn't just about ticking boxes. Sometimes it's real self-care. Avoiding that dread hanging over you.
Okay, so we have these big ideas. Physical mastery, inner mastery.
Yeah.
How does the book suggest we actually, do this, grounded in reality?
It always comes back to daily habits. Habits are the engine.
Like getting up early. That comes up a lot.
It does. Be up and doing. Grab that quiet hour before the chaos hits. Seriously, think about hitting snooze. You're arguably wasting the most focused, controlled hours you have all day.
And it's not some new productivity hack.
Not at all. Cultures for centuries have valued rising early, and it goes beyond just waking up. There's sleep discipline.
Sleep discipline.
Yeah, managing your rest consciously, like Floyd Patterson just ensuring he got enough sleep, or James Stockdale emphasizing it for his men in captivity. It's seen as an act of character needed for peak performance. You can't really be a morning person if you're undisciplined about when you go to bed.
Right, the evening habits dictate the morning. What about environment?
Huge impact. Cleaning your space, your desk. Robert Moses apparently had a desk with no drawers, so he had to deal with things immediately.
Wow.
And Flaubert's famous line, be regular and orderly in your life so that you may be violent and original in your work. Tidying up isn't just about neatness, it puts your head in order. Even just, getting properly dressed in the morning, even if you work from home, signals intent.
Sets the tone. And then there's just showing up.
The simple power of showing up. Edison in his lab, day in, day out. That underrated power of just clocking in consistently. One small thing, every day, it adds up massively over time.
The book also talks about sweating the small stuff, doesn't it? Like Coach John Wooden, the socks.
Yeah, teaching players exactly how to put on socks and shoes to avoid blisters. Details matter. Presentation matters. Think of Angela Merkel's consistent blazers or Steve Jobs' turtlenecks. It wasn't just random, it was deliberate. But it's a balance, right? Don't get so lost in details you miss the main point.
Okay. And what about managing the workload itself? Is there such a thing as too much discipline?
Well, yes, in the sense of avoiding the indiscipline of overwork, as Steinbeck called it. Burnout is real, making bad decisions under pressure, like the example of James Forrestal. Nothing can run full throttle forever without breaking. Temperance means reining in even good drives, listening to your body, your mind.
So undisciplined rest is also a problem, ignoring the need to recover.
Absolutely. It cuts careers short. It cuts lives short eventually.
That loops back to something maybe unexpected, the discipline of being kind to yourself.
It might seem counterintuitive, but yeah, not constantly beating yourself up for mistakes, but actively building yourself up. Being a good friend to yourself, that takes conscious effort, you know? It's a disciplined choice to cultivate that supportive inner voice instead of the harsh critic.
And setting boundaries seems related too. The Jay-Z quote about knowing who you are and not letting people pull you everywhere.
Definitely. It's disciplined self-protection, knowing your limits and enforcing them.
And underpinning almost all of this is time management.
Huge. Time wasted is us being wasted. Getting to the point, sticking to an agenda, avoiding endless tangents, that early rising we talked about. It's about carving out that uninterrupted time, which is gold. Being deliberate about your yeses and nos is fundamentally about valuing your time, this resource you can't get back.
Ultimately, it sounds like the message is, this isn't a quick fix.
Not at all. It's practice, long-term practice, until it becomes second nature. Like that Musashi quote, 1,000 days of training to develop, 10,000 days of training to polish.
Wow. 10,000 days.
It takes time, and Marcus Aurelius sums it up beautifully. Love the discipline you know and let it support you. It becomes your framework, your shield. It saves you from yourself. Yeah, from giving up, but also from ditching the very habits and systems that actually help you reach your potential.
So if we were to boil it all down, discipline isn't about being rigid or miserable.
No, not at all. It's about conscious command over yourself, body, mind, so you can live intentionally. Make progress on what counts. Build resilience.
It's actually the path to freedom, in a way.
Exactly. Freedom from your own cravings, from distractions, from just reacting to whatever life throws at you. Discipline saves us, from laziness, but also from our own excesses, runaway emotions, misguided efforts. It's what makes flourishing possible.
The book ends with that story about Admiral Rickover and Jimmy Carter, which really sticks.
Oh yeah, the interview for the nuclear sub program. Carter lists his achievements, and Rickover just asks, but did you do your best?
And Carter admits, honestly, no, not always.
And Rickover just stares at him and asks,
why not?
Why not? Such a simple question, but it cuts deep, doesn't it? It's not meant as harsh judgment, more like a calm, curious probe.
Something we can ask ourselves.
Totally. In what parts of your life are you maybe not doing your best? And then the follow-up, why not?
So maybe the takeaway for you listening is just to sit with that question. No beating yourself up, just observe.
And maybe just consider one small area today where you could choose discipline. Just one thing.
Your destiny's there. Will you grab the reins?